ladies, gentlemen, gamers of all kinds, welcome back to another patch notes reviewing. Right after what I would proudly like to say was a very horrendous and terrible Nintendo Direct. So as usual, these patch notes should be pretty light, hopefully, or I hope I'll review it pretty lightly, although I never do. I usually get into it a lot, because my interest in League is ever waning, especially since we're getting some pretty hefty nerfs. Now, they're to Samira, and I have very strong opinions on them. But anyway, aside from that, let's read what's going to go on. That's about the only thing I really know that's going on. So let's see. And I'm probably going to comment on it right away because I already read like the first paragraph of this. So, this patch, we're looking in on bot lane. A lane I would like to say is still severely underpowered, where shorter range champions like Samira have been slashing, dashing, and bashing things up. This hasn't gone unnoticed, which is why Samira's an especially hot potato. Now, this is the major thing I have a problem with right here in the beginning. Although her win rates are fine, which is what Riot said they're specifically going to balance around going forward in the future. They said this themselves. They're going to look at win rates. Her ban rates are high. So even though she's not actually overperforming, people just think she is, they're going to just nerf her into the ground, I would like to say. But anyway, aside from that, we're also adjusting Katarina and Urgot because their on-hit builds got nerfed. And then they're buffing Fiora and Lee Sin some more. Great. And if this patch seems particularly buff heavy, it's because they're taking a look at jungle's overall power and bringing it down. Which, ironically enough, one of my friends asked me, what's the most powerful role in the game? Like, what's the role that could really carry? And I told him jungle. Jungle was definitely number one. But I think it's kind of like a feast or famine thing. But anyway, now you can share your fruits of victory or defeat equally with your teammates. Nice. There's no new skins in this patch. Okay, cool. Because next patch we're getting the bee skins, I believe. Bee Maw. Anyway, so no skin reviews, even though they're usually pretty good anyway. Unless they're Chinese themed, as they always are, because Riot's owned by Tencent and they have to cater. Anyway, Amumu. What do I feel of Amumu? I don't know. I've barely seen him after the nerfs, which means he's probably not good, which means he's probably getting buffed. His base health is going up by 2. Okay, that's nothing. And his base E damage is going up by 25 later. That's pretty good. It's nothing crazy. Amumu's probably not going to be played at all. Brahm. As far as I know, Brahm is pretty decent in high elo, where people actually play support and can use him correctly. However, anywhere outside of high elo and maybe pro play, I don't think he's used at all, so he probably needs a buff. Because again, we never see Brahm. So what are they doing? They're buffing him. They're buffing his ulti by 20 seconds. Pretty decent, although I feel whenever Brahm has his ulti up, or whenever he needs it, he does have it up. I think this change does absolutely nothing. Next, Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn is still pretty weak. If ADs are weak, Caitlyn is probably even weaker because she's not that good of an AD, especially later. So they're probably going to buff maybe her early game? Let's see. Excuse me. So, Caitlyn loves a good chase, but she's too far behind to be a reasonable counter to shorter range marksman. See, that makes no sense. She is a counter to shorter range marksman. You just have to be good. But anyway, it's probably because her abilities don't really do that much, and Kaiser's abilities and Samira's do a lot. But anyway, they're reverting some nerfs, aka more damage growth and more attack speed growth. So she scales better, which I don't know how that really helps her in lane, but it helps her late game, which is her weak point. I don't know if it'll be enough. Probably not. It's just tiny buffs, but constant tiny buffs, which Caitlyn has been getting, will push her over the edge very soon. So I'm expecting we might see a little bit more Caitlyn's. Camille. Camille has been pretty apparent. I would like to say she's been pretty out there. I've seen her in a lot of my games. She does decently well. I've seen her in pro play. She does decently well. So she's probably getting nerfed. Camille's been sweeping out her enemies in top lane elite pro play, so reducing some of her safety and durability in lane. And how are they reducing her safety and durability? Maybe touching any of her stats, her armor, her MR stats. Maybe the safety part comes from the E. You know, the little thing that can help her get in and out like crazy. No, they're touching the W, and they're increasing it by 2 seconds. This does absolutely nothing. I don't know how this increases her safety and durability, or decreases it. This is a absolutely moronic change, and I don't know how it does what they want it to do. And it most likely will do kind of nothing. Fiora! What is Fiora getting? I think Fiora is decently okay. I think Fiora is one of the most skill-capped champions. If you're not good at Fiora, you just look terrible on her. And if you're good at her, aka those Chinese players that pop all 4 of the passive marks like instantly, then she looks really, really strong, especially with the counter. I feel like she's so hard, like, skill-capped, it's, like, insane. But maybe she's too hard skill-capped, so they want to make her accessible to more of a player base. So they're probably going to buff her, because I haven't seen Fiora in a long time. And when I do, they just feed. So they're saying she's in a weakened state. I say she's more skill-capped, and they're making the mark damage 3 plus 5.5. So they're increasing her true damage, which actually is a very scary thing. They said when they reworked Fiora, yeah, we're kind of scared to put true damage on her passive like this, but we're going to do it anyway. And we're like, they're very scared to buff it, but I guess they're buffing it. And it looks like by a decent amount too. It's by 0.5%, just flat, and then it scales by a whole more percentage with 100 AD. So you'll probably get like 16, 5, 10, 15, yeah, like 17-ish damage. Like, imagine you get 300 AD on Fiora. You're getting 17% true damage on a mark. And, you know, times that by 4, that's almost like 80%. Almost. And true damage, that's insane. Anyway, keep going. So, Jinx. The buffs did feel good. I actually did play Jinx since the buffs. Despite the buffs, though, she still feels like ass. She doesn't feel that good. The extra range helped a little bit. The attack speed really didn't matter. But in general, I would say she's definitely better, but she still sucks ass. So they have to buff her. Her win rate seemed to go down in higher levels of play, suggesting that the 11.3 health base health and nerf was skewed too high. So they're giving that back. I think Jinx's early is probably, you know, her weakest state, and if she doesn't get going early, she kind of just lags behind. Even though she is a very decently safe AD, I think she just has to keep up and start hyper carrying. Does this help her do that? Not really, but it helps one of her problems, which she's a little squishy. So earlier she could tank like maybe an extra auto and maybe win the fight. So anyway, Kaiser, what is seeming to be one of the most problematic ADs of this season. Her and Jhin, but Jhin is easily dealt with. They just, I hope to God, don't want to do it, because they've been leaving him generally pretty alone. So, what are they doing for Kaiser? Kaiser is, like, I would say more ridiculous than Jhin. IMO, but she's definitely getting a nerf. So, Q-based damage per missile, maximum single target damage, and maximum evolved single target damage decreased. No one adapts to new items like Kaiser, and this season proved no exception, reducing some of her damage to lower burstiness and make her less daunting. So, that is one of the things I actually can agree with. When I go into trade on Kaiser, right, her level 1 isn't terrible because of the Q. If you get a single target damage Q on someone, it actually ends out really in your favor with trades. So, them nerfing that, I feel like, is kind of okay. But by how much are they doing it is the real question. So, 5 damage, okay. Max single target damage is going down, okay, I mean, obviously. Max evolved single target damage is going down, 168, 275, 412. Not bad, so it's like a little over 25, which isn't too bad later. Earlier, it's really not that much at all. It's just 5 damage. So, it's pretty good. Not too crazy, but they're probably going to nerf her some more after this, most likely. So anyway, moving on to Katarina. Katarina kind of sucks after they nerfed the on-hit build. And because of that, she hasn't been played. Same thing with Urgot, we're probably going to see. So they're buffing her. So, obviously the only thing that needs to be buffed is the R, because that's what you bought the on-hit for. On-hit damage ratio, 25, 30, 35, okay. 16 plus 12.8. I mean, yeah, because you kind of build crit AD on her now, so. I never thought I would have saw the day you'd build crit AD on Katarina. That shit's crazy. But anyway. It applies to on attack effects in addition to on hit. Okay, cool. So, I don't know if it's going to be as bad as it was, but it's definitely better than what it is. But I'm going to be honest, I don't play Katarina, so I don't know what this is really going to do. Like, is this enough? I'm for sure positive it's probably not as strong as it was once all the items got reworked initially. But is it going to be strong enough to be relevant? I don't know. Urgot, same thing. I don't play him, I don't know. The on-hit damage ratio is definitely helped, though. So instead of being 100, it got nerfed to 50, which is now 75. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know why he would build Kraken, though, but it's interesting. Lee Sin. So Lee Sin is still ass, and I hope he stays ass. I don't want to see Lee Sin players thinking they're cool. So, unfortunately, they haven't been cool, but they're buffing him. So now it's going from 11 to 10. They're shaving off 1 second, and this actually might not seem like a lot, but it actually is. This helps his clear time. This helps him maybe get a second Q off during a gank. Because the cooldown is already, like, decent, and you max it first, and you get a little bit of cooldown either way. Nerfing the Q cooldown, or buffing the Q cooldown by 1 second is actually, in my opinion, a pretty big deal for Lee Sin. Anything that makes Lee Sin able to be more mobile, especially with his damaging ability, his main movement ability, aside from his W, obviously, is really good. Really good. So, pretty good buff. I don't know if it's enough to keep Lee Sin, in, but I just hope this is enough because I don't want them touching his damage values. Because once they do that, then he's really going to get crazy. Renekton. As far as I've seen, they've been playing Renekton in pro play. I haven't seen him, but the fact that they're playing him in pro play means he's probably pretty good. So they're probably nerfing him. Q non-based healing decreased later. Enhanced non-champion based healing decreased later. So, yeah, he's just too good at getting ramped up in lane, so they're nerfing that. Non-champion base healing is going down to 7, okay. I don't know what this means, but I don't see Renekton, so I'm probably not going to see Renekton even more. I don't know if this is enough to take him out of pro play, because I have not played Renekton or seen him. Oh boy, Samira. Here's the big one. So, oh god. Samira, I don't understand what they're doing with her. They wanted to make a cool, fun, actually good AD, and they succeeded wildly. Samira was, and I will admit, always, over-tuned when she came out. But I would say right now she's in a decent spot. And like they said, her win rate isn't anything crazy either way. Like, she's really balanced out right now. It's just people have this running gag of, oh, Samira, OP. No, they're just bad. And the two ways that counter her, that counter any AD, but it's even worse for her, in my opinion, is armor and CC. And then, like, she's a non-carry, in my opinion, at that point. Unless she could get her ult off, she really does not do as good as the other ADs. And if you build armor, her ult does nothing. So, the passive bonus damage was decreased early, which was, I'm going to show you what this really means. The Q damage ratio decreased early, but it scales. Oh yeah, it scales, because Samira's known for her late game. The W duration decreased. That is okay. The E targeting was adjusted, aka hella nerfed, and the dash speed decreased. Let's see what they have to say for this. As it stands, our Desert Rose has consistently been warming the ban bench. Yeah, because people have a thought of what she is. Not correct, though. Even when technically close to balanced, we believe she has several frustrating attributes that contribute to her high ban rate, and also what makes her fun. We're tackling this problem by giving her some balance tweaks, aka gutting her, so that both Samira players and her opponents feel more comfortable having her back in the ring, aka, yeah, Samira players, you're not going to be playing her no more. To do this, we're reducing the power of her defensive tools. Okay. And giving opponents more opportunities to play against her in lane. We're also reducing her all-in potential early game. Okay. In exchange, we're improving her kill potential mid to late game. No. So, watch this. The passive damage. Early, the bonus passive damage is ass. It's absolutely ass. They nerfed it so much. Later, it's okay, but later you're not really relying on, like, the melee autos unless the fight's already over. Like, you're only going to be going into melee auto late game if you're 1v1ing someone, or you're about to use ult, or the fight is won and you're just on top of them killing them. Like, if they're on top of you killing you, this isn't going to matter. So, already, this change, yeah, I guess it's okay later, but it doesn't matter. The Q change. So, the way Samira's Q worked was, it was basically a ranged auto. It applied on hit, I believe. It applies lifesteal. It can crit, even though the crit is asked for it. And it was on a decent cooldown that got better as the game went on. So, but it always did at least as much as an auto attack, right? Now, it does 80% of your AD. So, what does that mean? It's basically less than an auto. So, anyone that used this to farm is immediately going to feel it. Immediately. It's really worse for farming now. It does less than an auto, and now I feel like Samira could just get bullied so much harder early game. Like, because you have to really go up to auto the minions to actually get them successfully, queuing is not as reliable anymore. Samira already has less than less than most AD's range, which is usually 550 or 525. She has 500. She has Lucian range. Now, if they didn't do something else, I'd be like, all right, this is okay because it's a little bit more risky to get farm and you have to play safer, but there's a way to get out of it with her E, right? Wrong. I'm going to skip the W for now because that's a little change. The E, you can no longer dash through allies. This has to be one of the biggest nerfs to Samira that she could ever receive. She is now so unsafe. If she goes to get farm, she can't E out. She can always E in, but she can never E out. You can never E on an ally to reset. You can't get a kill and then E out on an ally or an ally minion. It has to be on an enemy. This is a huge nerf. Absolutely huge. Absolutely fucking massive. So, what are they giving her, though? Samira can now dash through enemy towers, but will target champions over towers. And the dash speed went down hella. So now, not only can you not dash to allies, I don't know what the stupid little buff they think this thing is. This doesn't matter. But not only can you not dash through allies, now you're dumb slow while doing it. It's ridiculous. Now, to add insult to injury, the one fun part about Samira's kit, right, was the fact that the ult had no cooldown. Now, it kind of does. Now, instead of... And I don't know why they didn't mention this at all, but now instead of the ult having no cooldown, you have to wait. Now, you could argue that by the time you get the second S, it should be up. But sometimes you get that shit really quickly, so you're actually not going to be able to spam ulti anymore, which was one of the extremely fun and satisfying parts about Samira. And the fact that they took this away is just like a slap in the face. Samira is so much worse than what she was, and the biggest slap in the face is that she is an AD that was fun, and I don't think she's going to be that much fun anymore. Especially when you're just taking it up the ass all day, but, you know, let's see what happens, I guess. But I think this is like, Samira's almost basically done in terms of actually being fun and good. I mean, this is not to say that you can't do good with her, but it's just going to be so much harder and different. This is ridiculous. And this was all in one patch. This is insane. They just hate Samira. So, next we have Skarner. The guy who almost got reworked, but it went to Udyr, who's actually really good now. So, Less of His Kind is the top of the jungle. So instead of getting reworked, and obviously you have to get reworked if you're, you know, kind of old and a bit of an issue. So instead of getting reworked, instead of getting helped out, he just gets nerfed. So that's what Skarner gets. I never see Skarner anyway, so this doesn't matter. Soraka, what do I feel about Soraka? I feel like Soraka is non-existent and kind of bad because all we see is mages. And if a mage catches Soraka out, Soraka just dies. So I think Soraka is probably going to get buffed. Movement speed bonus went up. That's decent. And then the base heal went up by 10. That's decent. This does pretty much nothing. Talon. I've barely seen Talon in the new patch, or in the new season, rather. So the one time I did see him, I played Samira and I absolutely washed him because I blocked this whole kit. But I think Talon's probably going to get buffed. So W cooldown now scales. That's really good, actually. Bonus damage ratio increased. That's decent. Talon has been struggling to get his blades on people, so we're letting him have some more access to his tools at range. Talon is one of those people that, like, I remember they showed the statistic, right, where he was so good early that he got the majority of first bloods. Like, the person most likely to get first blood in League of Legends was Talon. But then he just falls off really hard late. And it was so sad, because I think Talon is a super cool and super fun champion. And while not necessarily solving his problem, it does make him a little more fun to play. Yeah, sorry, Elijah, I'm not answering you. Not doing patch notes! So, the fact that they are buffing the cooldown by 2, and it scales... I mean, you do max this first anyway, so... And they're buffing the AD ratio, too. So it's going to be slightly better for late, which is going to make his late slightly better, but without any other changes, if they just leave him as it is like this, it's going to feel a little better, but it's realistically going to change probably nothing, so it doesn't matter. Tryndamere. Tryndamere's been weak in lane, so bringing his Furious Fellows, base AD, stuff him out. I actually think the exact opposite. I think Tryndamere is doing really good in the new season, and I have no clue why they're buffing him. So, this is interesting. So, does this do a lot? I mean, technically it does. I think Tryndamere's early game is already really good. Although, every Tryndamere I've seen always loses out early. So, maybe that's just my bias of thinking Tryndamere is powerful when he's not. But, either way, I could see him getting the buff. Because, again, Tryndamere is so one-dimensional. I think as long as you don't really touch anything too crazy besides stats, it's okay, because you could still kite him. But anyway, Tryndamere buff, probably not going to do too much, but maybe. So, Varus. Oh my god, my mom is so loud. So, oh my god, now I can't even focus. So now, what do I think of Varus? Varus is pretty underwhelming. He typically built on hit in the old patches, but on hit kind of sucks now. It's not as good. So, does Varus go lethality? I don't think lethality is that good for ranged either. It's mostly just crit. So, Varus kind of sucks. And I've barely seen... In fact, I don't think I've seen a single Varus. This is crazy. So what are they doing? We're giving more incentive for Varus to fully charge his Q in combat. Extra juicy for lethality and crit builds. Ooh. So 0 to 50 increased by 0 to 80. That's a huge buff. So like, that's... I think that's more than a 50% buff. That's actually really crazy. So the max missing health damage on the active is going up by a lot. Jesus Christ. So if you're low, this thing will kill you. Especially if he charges up. See, this is what I'm talking about. Varus' whole thing is he just has a giant fucking arrow shoot at you. And they're just buffing that. That's super good. Will this make Varus good? Honestly, maybe. The fact that if the Q gets just over buffed, right? Then it might be crazy. Even though they're buffing the W. But anyway. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Veigar. What are they doing with Veigar? I think Veigar kind of sucks. Like, he's decent, but he's nowhere where he used to be, ironically enough. I think pre-rework Veigar, even though he gets less stacks, like he actually has to just farm the minions with the stacks, I kind of enjoyed it more just because he didn't have an execute on his R for some reason. Although that was probably put in to make him semi-balanced. But he's pretty ass. With the new item changes and no more spooky ghosts and stuff, he kind of definitely took a hit. Because the main best way to play Veigar was with spooky ghosts. Now you actually have to play a mage again. Which doesn't really work out because you get AP out the ass anyway. And the items aren't really utility enough to help you in any other way. So, God, getting Everfrost is so ass. I hate Everfrost. But anyway, Veigar should definitely get a buff, and it looks like he is. And he, ironically enough, doesn't really go mid from what I see. He goes bot lane. Surprise, surprise. So, the Q cost is going down. This is really good. This is always good. Veigar's main ability is his Q. To have it be cheap is good. I just wish they would buff the cooldown early. But anyway, his R, Primordial Burst on that ass. The cooldown for that is also going down to 60 seconds late. Late, this thing becomes pretty spammable already. And with cooldown, you're going to have this thing up every, 35 seconds. So, almost guaranteed every fight. Even though the fights don't come up that often late game anyway, because the timers are too long for death. But a decent change. If you catch someone out and then we team meanders around and then you fight them, you'll have it back up. Meaningful change. That's what I'm trying to say. The cooldown is a meaningful change. The cost is a good quality of life change. It's not going to be making him crazy, though. Trust me. This doesn't do too much. But it feels good. Okay, Jinxos. So, like I said, on hit is pretty ass. I hope to dear God they buff Jinxos in a meaningful way. And they have really big text here for some reason. I kind of like it. Jinxos has fallen behind crit amortizations for a bunch of champions who historically had more choice here, giving it a slight bump so it can be more meaningful consideration. They're just buffing the attack to be by 5%. This does absolutely nothing. Moonstone Renewer. This thing has been a little ridiculous with its healing, and it's crowding out the other items. So, it's getting nerfed. By how much? Not by a lot. I still think this is going to be pretty good. Grievous Wounds. Apparently they're not performing that well. Interesting. So, they're literally just buffing damage numbers. This is okay. We're changing a couple of under-purchased mage items. Ooh. So, Cosmic Drive. This used to be kind of ass. I just got it because I liked it, but I didn't think it was good. So if you have at least 160 ability power, you gain 20 ability haste. Nice. So overall, this is giving you more ability haste than before. It's giving you 40 instead of 30, but you have to hit the threshold. And now it's giving you permanent move speed, which is great. This is a much better item now. Everfrost. This item is kind of ass. Why? Because the active is ass. So, they're buffing its base damage, which is good. It's better early. It doesn't scale as well, which is to be understood. Excuse me. And the cast time is down, which I think was the main thing. I don't know by how much better this is going to be, but this is definitely the direction they should have taken it, and they in fact are, which is great. So, Eternal Winter, I don't care. Jungle camp changes. What are they saying? We've seen junglers have had a bit more control over games. Okay, so jungler's getting ahead too soon, so they're probably just going to nerf what the camps give. Let's see. Yep. Okay, cool. So junglers are going to be slightly behind now. Incoming healing update. After seeing the incoming healing tech live for some time. Okay. The stack bars could be a bit confusing. We're making a few changes this patch that should address this. Oh, okay, so this is just the visual side. Incoming healing only displays for the player and their allies. Incoming healing now is a special bar treatment to differentiate from other health bar effects. Nice. I don't know what this means. You will all see it when you go into game. In-game shop updates. More updates so you can wipe out the store and the competition. You can now drag the corner of the shop and scale the size up and down. Thank you, God. I was waiting for this forever. The Quick Eye panel has now gained some additional smarts around trinkets. It will now make you swap the order to change depending on the one you have. Thank you, God. Flash Build Team, no one cares. Bug fixes, no one cares. And there's no new skins. So, pretty decent. This took a little bit longer than I would have wanted. But all things considering, we're making good time with just about half an hour. So, I'm going to wrap this up quickly with all the stupid-ass changes they put in. And a lot of changes that didn't make sense. And very little that were actually good. I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 10 mark, Merrills. This actually was not good, similar to the Nintendo Direct I just witnessed. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of here. Bye bye. I hopefully will see you in 2 weeks. If I'm not dead, dying, or disposed of.